just kind of settled down from getting a placement and figured, hey, I should make a video. So I've made all these videos without any placements, and I finally got one, and he's so sweet. Call him Bububs. But okay, here's some of the story behind this. So Christmas and New Year's, kind of a whirlwind, did a lot of traveling with my boyfriend. And then we got back to work on Tuesday, and I got a call Tuesday morning. Just answered it because I always answer numbers that I don't know, just more out of curiosity than anything. And so I answered this phone number and wasn't expecting anything. I thought it was somebody from work maybe, and it was the placement people in the county, and they're asking, they said they had a 2-day-old little boy, and they're asking if I was interested in hearing more, and I said yeah. So heard a little bit about him, and I said, oh gosh, I need some time to talk to some people about this and figure things out, because I wasn't sure if with work stuff, I know I have some flexibility, but I didn't know I needed to kind of talk to my boss, and I needed to talk to my boyfriend and just get some of his thoughts on things. And yeah, so I made some phone calls, talked to several people, kind of got the okay, and mostly people kind of said, if this is something you want to do, go for it, and we'll figure it out from there. So I called the lady back, and just kind of could tell from the conversation I had with her, like, she had been looking for a while for a place for him, and when I said yes, she was really relieved. And so even that first little joy of knowing that I'm serving my community by taking care of Bububs, when it's just hard to find a placement for a brand new baby, which surprises me because they're so fun to just hold and cuddle, but they're also a lot of work, so it makes sense. So that day, the hospital was going to keep him a couple more days probably, and this was this past Tuesday, and I asked if I could go visit in the hospital, and they set everything up so that I could come see him, and Mom hadn't been around, so I was just able to go in there, and a friend, this is the beauty, oh my gosh, so much beauty in having friends that are foster parents, is she came with me, and she wrote down all sorts of questions I needed to ask, all these things that I needed to make sure I get or borrow from people. And when we got to the hospital, you know, my mind's spinning, because this is my first real placement, besides my little buddy that I just had overnight, and this is the first time I'm getting going through the process of a placement, and all of this, and my head's spinning, and I see this little baby, and he's so beautiful, and I just, kind of blank out. So I was so glad she was there to ask all the right questions, just kind of press the nurses a little bit to get as much information about him as we could. She just gave the suggestion that, find out as much as you can when you're in the hospital, because for this little guy, for his story, that's one thing that could help fill in the gaps for him when he grows up, and if he ends up back with Mom, and maybe Mom doesn't know what was going on during those days, or if he ends up with a adoptive family, for him to know all the pieces of his story, everything back from the first days he was here. And so I got lots of information about him, as much as they could tell me. There's some things they just couldn't say because of privacy. I got to hold him for a couple hours and just get to know him and all that, and then was planning on going back the next day, but I got a call and they said, hey, he's ready to get picked up. We're ready to discharge him, so if you can come to the hospital, you can take him home. So I actually got to go to the hospital, and I met the social worker there, and he just kind of walked through the process with me, and I got to take him home, and then the social worker came over to my house to just talk through everything and sign paperwork and things like that. So it was a whirlwind, and one of the funniest things was when I was leaving the hospital, they had to put me in a wheelchair, because they have to put every new mom in a wheelchair, and so I had to leave the hospital in a wheelchair, even though I was perfectly capable of walking out of the hospital with him. So that was funny, but it was sweet to see the nurses. They did such a good job with him in the hospital. They were really his first caretakers, just feeding him whenever he cried, and changing him, and taking care of him, holding him. So that was really sweet. But now we've had him for 6 days, And last night was the first night that I really slept as much as I thought I'd be sleeping with a newborn. The last few nights he was up for stretches where he was up every hour. Um, and yesterday especially, I was exhausted. I had a headache. I couldn't think straight. All I wanted to do was sleep. But you're kind of on high alert with an infant, and so um, seemed like the only way he wanted to sleep was just like this, like being on me, which is really hard at night and not possible when I also want to sleep. So until last night, he finally slept some good 3 hour stretches last night where I could get some sleep and my brain could refresh, and I woke up feeling so much better. So, and then yesterday at church, just everybody getting to see him and wanting to love him, and he is so, so loved. And a lot of my community were reaching out to ask how they can help and ask to bring meals or to babysit. Or I have a friend coming tonight. This is amazing. She's coming tonight to babysit overnight so that I can get a good night of sleep. I think that's gonna help a ton. I mean, I feel like I'll be able to go another week with just one full night of sleep. So that's gonna be a huge blessing just to have her there. And my room, fortunately, it's set up as a guest room and the nursery, and so he'll be able to sleep in there, and she'll have a bed to sleep in when he's sleeping, and the changing table's all in there, and the rocking chair, and all the things that she needs are right in there in that room. So um, I'll be able to sleep, and he'll get taken care of, and hopefully he'll have a really good night like he did last night. But I don't know what else to say. I guess one thing that I could say is I've been leaving little notes for him that he's going to get with him wherever he goes in life in his notebook. So this was another thing a friend recommended, just writing little notes to him and keeping track of different milestones that he's making and all of that, and just getting to like celebrate his life and all that he accomplishes in his little infant life. Um, so right now it's like really fun. Like I'm writing things in there about how I call him Bububs and how much I tell him I love him when I'm feeding him, and how he likes to sleep on my chest like this. And today and yesterday he started to be more alert and be more awake and have more just like awake time, and he had his first tummy time, which I actually think he enjoyed because he likes being on his tummy. I wonder sometimes maybe like he's got gas and so he likes to be on his tummy. So we're working on that, just getting good ways to burp and all of that. So I'm learning a lot because I don't have any kids, and so this is my first time being a mom, and I've cared for kids, but the responsibility of every day, every bottle, every changing, every all the attention that he needs is all coming from me. So it's the first time, and I can honestly say it's good. Like this is really good. It's really, really fun having an infant. I would say the only the only downside I can even see to it is just the lack of sleep. And so if we can get through these, I don't know, weeks or months of a little bit of lack of sleep, like if there's so much joy in it. And so it's just a good thing for me to remember. Like if I ever do this again and get an infant, or when I have my own kids, like it's time that's totally worth it. He needs all this time. I know it's even thinking about with all this time he wants to spend in his tummy and all the attention I'm giving him, like, am I building bad habits? Like, what would a mom do with a biological child? You know, you hear everything about sleep training and just getting, good patterns and things like that. But I've been told, and I can definitely see just the the need for him to be with me and to bond with me and to know that he's loved, and just to have security, and for his consistency to be the security that he has in me right now, I think is more important than the consistency of sleeping through the night, even though that would be like what I want my main priority to be right now. For him, he needs a consistency of knowing that he is cared for, and he's gone through trauma, even though way less than a lot of kids might go through who get into the foster care system, but he's still gone through trauma, so I want to make sure that I'm caring for him the best I can and giving him all the attention he needs and all the love that he needs just to, you know, I don't know, I can't make up for what was done necessarily, but I do think love goes a long way for healing, for the little wounds and brokenness that he has in his life already. So it's fun to get to pray for him and even to know wherever he ends up in life. It'd be great if he gets to go back with mom, but maybe not. Maybe he gets to go back with a forever mom, an adoptive mom, and to know that I did the absolute best I could with him to serve his family, whoever his mom and dad and siblings end up being, and just helping him have the best start that he can. It's really, really cool. I think it gets me through a lot of the hard nights. You just sit there kind of praying about lots of different things, but that always seems to be something that God keeps putting on my mind is, I wasn't doing this for me. I was doing this for my community and for the kids that are really helpless in these situations. So, maybe he'll even see this someday. I love you, Bububs. It's really fun to get to be your Auntie Kate.